Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, like to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles of Great Millstone, preaching this word truthfully and sincerely. Shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching this word truthfully, faithfully, strongly, and sincerely. And Shalom to the Akim, and that be like unto the speckled bird, preaching this word truthfully, faithfully, strongly, and sincerely. And this is another news article that's in the news. I'm uploading and doing the video on, and here it goes. And this is from Newsweek. This is posted at 9/27. I meant to say the date, September 27, 2021 at 1:18 a.m., which was earlier today. And the headline of the title, it says, Syria says it will drive U.S. from country if troops do not leave voluntarily. And continuing with the article, and it reads, Syrian foreign minister on Monday vows to drive U.S. troops out of his country if they do not leave voluntarily. Speaking to the United Nations General Assembly in New York, Foreign Minister Faisal Mikdad called the presence of Turkey and United States troops in northern Syria illegal and flagrant violation of international laws. Hundreds of U.S. troops are stationed in East Syria and working with the Kurdish League fighters to combat the Islamic State militant group. Turkish forces are present in northern Syria, where Turkey has supposed and funded Syrian opposing fighters against Syrian President Bashar Assad forces. And it reads, Mikdad calls for the troops to withdraw voluntarily from Syria, threatening to push them out if they do not go. He did not say how the Syrian government plans to do that. Just as we managed to wipe out terrorists from most of Syria, we will work to end the occupation with the same resolve and determination, using all possible means under international law, he said. And Mikdad said Syria's doors are open for the safe return of refugees, accusing Western countries of taking advantage of the suffering of Syrians while pretending to care for their well-being. Wow, he said, even pretending to take care of their well-being. Wow, ain't that something? And continuing on with the article, he also says Syrian and armed forces will continue fighting terrorists. The Syrian government catch all words for its opponents until every part of Syria is once again under government control. We are not bad about that. Going back right to it. And it says pressure and lies and accusations against us, he said. Syrian conflict started amid Arab Spring uprising in 2011 and eventually evolving into an insurgence of civil war following a brutal crackdown resulting in one of the largest humanitarian catastrophes in past century. The United Nations Human Rights Chief said last week that her office has documented the deaths of more than 350,200 people, civilians, and combatants in the war over the past decade, while admitting the real number of those killed in the conflict is mostly certain for higher. The war also has displaced half of the country's pre-war population of 23 million, including 5 million who are refugees outside of the country. We have made it clear that Syrian doors are wide open for the safe and voluntary return of all refugees to their country, McDad said, adding that the government was putting the necessary procedures in place to facilitate the return of peoples and meet their basic needs. He said while the Syrian government and its allies in making its honest efforts on this humanitarian issue, some continue to take advantage of the suffering of Syrians to serve an agenda that has nothing to do with humanitarian objectives or interests of Syrians. How worldly, how words sharply contradicted with the views of Syrian experts. Human rights organizations said some of the foreign governments who said that forced conscription and indiscriminated detentions and forcing disappearance continues. In a rings on with an article from Newsweek, in a report published early this month, Amnesty International said that the number of Syrian refugees who return home have been subjected to detention, disappearance, and torture in the hands of Syrian security forces, proving that it still isn't safe to return to any part of the country. In government-controlled areas, including suburbs of Damascus and the parts of central Syria previously held by opposing rebels, the security situation has stabilized the entire neighborhood and destroyed many people has no houses to return to. To access to basic service such as water and electricity is poor to non-existent. McDad was addressing the General Assembly for the first time. He was appointed foreign minister in November after the death of longtime diplomat Walid Malahim, who traveled to New York every year to address the General Assembly. And it says right here, Syria's top diplomatic Salaki, I can't pronounce his name. McDad on Monday said its doors are open for the safe return of refugees, accusing Western countries of taking advantage of the suffering of Syrians while pretending to care for their well-being. Above, McDad addressed the 76 sessions of the UN General Assembly of September 27 at the UN quarters. So after reading this full article right here, I guess, the Syrian leader, the spokesman of Syria, he says he wants the Turkish groups, the Turkish armies, and the United States, that's stationed there in Syria, like central part of Syria and Damascus area of Syria, where you got possibly continue conflict over there with the Russia troops there, and then you got Iran backed groups there, and you got the United States there, and you got another group there as well too, and then you got the Syrian army and the Syrian government. They trying to fight off the Syrian let me rephrase that. You got the Syrian army and Syrian government, they trying to fight off the Islamic terrorists down there. And then you got the United States there, and you got Turkish groups, military groups there. And the Iran-backed military groups is down there as well too, and along with the army, Russian army as well too down there. So, it's a lot of different groups and nations down there. So, his hands full down there, in the Syrian government, their hands full down there. And then at the same time, he trying to have all the Syrian refugees to come back home so it can be safe for them. But the way the looks of it, it seems like it's not very safe for them still to not to return back, So the Syrian government and the spokesperson, as he made, his statement right there that he want his he want the U.S. soldiers to leave that country, you know, and he said it's gonna be some type of consequences, gonna be some type of action or force. I mean, I don't know if that's fully true or he just saying that just words, but you never know. Anything can happen. Especially we got stuff going on in the Middle East down there, so so many different things be going on down there. So but like the scripture says, let the weak say I am strong. Even though these nations, kind of feel like sometimes they don't, these countries don't want America's military station in these countries and stuff like that. Even though these countries still have to deal with issues of their own and other groups of people that's in there, that station, that's having conflicts and wars down there in their respectable countries down there. So like the scripture says, even the countries feel like they at their low state, but they trying their best to defend their country for their safety and their people. But these some of these other countries don't like America being stationed there, using the economic sanctions on them and everything like that. Those are many examples like that. Like the scripture says, let the weak say I am strong, and I'm gonna bring that scripture out to back that up. You know. So yeah. Yep. And with that article right there, I got a scripture to possibly to back it up. You know, this is the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 10, and it reads, beat your plowshares and swords and your pointing hooks and spears, let the weak say I'm strong, right? So, these other nations, outside the United States, outside of, places like Russia, United States and Israel and all that. But, you got these other countries, even though these are, countries that like is they areas looking like war zones and stuff like that, but but the spokesperson and the leaders of these countries said, hey, we are strong, let the weak say I'm strong, because you got these leaders in these countries, they getting tired of American troops being in their country and everything like that, putting economic sanctions on them and everything like that. And from what he was saying, when he said in his speech, like these other countries that got these Syrians or these refugees, they kind of pretend like they're for their well-being and stuff like that. I mean, but I don't know for sure, but he sure said that statement. But hey, but sometimes you can't believe what the media says. But I was just just bringing out the news article. I was just doing this for doing the edification. Sit down, listen, doing a news article in the news. So this the scripture that backs it up. As I just read that news article about the Syrian spokesperson in that country down there. They want all these different groups of people, different groups of nations of military groups stationed down there, and still got conflicts down there in the Middle East, which is parts of Syria down there. The Syrian governments and everything, they want these other nationalities of nations of military groups of people, they want them out of their country. And they saying this big and bold towards America. So that lets indications that all these other nations, they don't even care if the United States have nuclear capability, military strength and all that. They don't really care about that. And these countries like Syria, war-affected areas, and they still saying it boldly in the face of the United States, like the scripture says, like the weak say I am strong, and that's in the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 10, So, I wasn't going to do this video too long. I was just doing this article right here about, the headline of this article again. I'm going to read it one more time. Like it says, Syrian says it will drive the United States from country if troops do not leave voluntarily. Right, so that's like the weak say I am strong. They not afraid of modern day Babylon no more. They don't look at them as a big bad bully of a bully and security of the world. They don't look at them like that no more. Might be some other countries, but other countries, they don't want United States being in their country, trying to tell them what to do, trying to station in their countries and everything like that. These other nations boldly saying this in the face of the United States, which is North America, modern day Babylon today, according to the biblical scriptures. So I hope this was edifying. And it's in the news article that I just brought out and read, and brought out a scripture to back that up as well too. So I hope this was edifying through the spirit, power, grace, and mercy of Yahweh Yahushua. And first and foremost, I'd like to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Bakakadash. Double honors to the elders, apostles, the great millstone, preaching his word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching his word truthfully, faithfully, strongly, and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching his word truthfully, faithfully, strongly, and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching his word truthfully, faithfully, strongly, and sincerely, that be like unto the speckled bird, scattered through the four corners of the globe, that's preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. So with that, I would say shalom.